You've been in relationships with some famous women. You've dated some of the biggest superstars of all time. Anything you can share with us about Cher?
Oh, she's a wonderful lady. Loving mother, caring. She's wonderful. I treasure the time we had together, and she's still a friend. I didn't understand Hollywood. I didn't understand anything about Los Angeles. I was thrust into the deep end of the pool. Coming from New York, you didn't see anybody, you didn't know anybody. It was just in a band, and you go from city to city. And then when I met Cher, and you know, we just palled around and got along, and then just decided to live together. Anybody would come up, Dolly Parton, or you know, the Charlie's Angels, or one second it's this one, and you live in Malibu, and it was like some bizarre world where only famous people lived. And then one day she got up and said, "Let's go jog." And I said, "Jog? What's jog?" I'd never heard of the word. In New York, you didn't run anywhere unless somebody was chasing you. Now we're going to run on the beach. Where to? Why? I didn't understand. So I put on my silk purple shirt and my snakeskin boots, and I didn't know where we were going. And she was laughing, and I'm trying to, you know, run in the beach. And then Neil Diamond came one way, and then Barbra Streisand came the other. And I said, "I've landed on Mars. I have no idea what I'm doing here. I clearly don't belong." She was great, great lady.
I interviewed Diana Ross not long ago, and it comes to mind that you also had a relationship with her.
I did. Wonderful mother, loved her kids, worked her way up from being a 16-year-old girl, you know, in the ghetto, and she's a self-made woman. Just great. You know, in the dictionary, there's the word lady. There should be a photo of Diana right there.
Where's my groom? Where's my man?
Which way are we going?
Wow!
But for the past 3 decades, only one woman has remained constant in Gene's life, former Playboy cover girl Shannon Tweed. The couple lives in Beverly Hills, where they raised their 2 children, Nick and Sophie.
At the end of the day, at the end of my life, because we're all going to take a turn at that, who do I want around me? Some stripper or somebody that could care less about me, or do I want my family, my children, Shannon, the woman I love? You know, the arrogance of youth and the folly of youth, in my case, I don't want to speak specifically, I want to stand up to my responsibility. I'm an only child, and all my life I thought nobody should be able to ask me, "Where are you going?" Where am I going? Who wants to know? So my errant ways, as they say, has been a life of arrogance and selfishness. And you know, the only way to cure any of that is to be completely upfront about it and to stand guilty as charged of being who I am. In fact, I had an album that I named, I don't know if I'm allowed to say asshole. May I?
Yes. This was cable
Asshole.
television, you know.
There you go. I named it that because it was one of the song titles, but in a very real way, I was one. I'd like to think I'm no longer.
And in Gene Simmons' Family Jewels, people get to view this bumpy ride.
Oh yeah, all of it. You see the infidelities, you see Shannon being hurt, you see her wanting not to stay together, and arrogantly, I stayed together with Shannon. How about that? Here's the selfishness part. She stayed together with me for 29 years, faithfully, with all the trials and tribulations, without demanding anything. And finally, when the kids were grown up, there was a point in time where either we were going to break up or I was going to stand up and be a man. So we've been together 31 years, but married only 2.
But for so long, you met her, you fell in love with her, lived with her, but for so long you continued to, I draw a deep breath to use the word cheat.
Oh, more than that. It was gluttony to the excess. I never wanted children. I said to her, "Do you want to live together? Want to hang out, stuff? I'm not going to marry you." I put it down in writing. We're not going to get married. I don't want children. I don't ever want to have children. Because I didn't want another child to feel what I felt like when a father walked out. I thought I was going to do it. Well, guess what? Nick is 25 years old, 6'8". Sophie is going to rule the planet. She's writing books and acting, and she's the queen of the household. She's 22. In fact, we're having dinner right after this interview, I'm proud to say. And I did not become my father. I'm a good father.
You've dealt in the world of rock and roll and entertainment, but you don't have a reputation of having ever been deep into drink.
I've never been willingly drunk or high or smoked
deep into
cigarettes in my
drugs?
life. Nah.
How did you avoid that when so many others didn't?
Well, honestly, I just, if I could verbalize it, I just couldn't imagine breaking my mother's heart. And in my opinion, and I have to say that so that people don't get upset again, you don't understand, it's a disease. Oh, please, leave me alone. All the drinking and the drugs and everything else is a selfish idea, to my way of thinking, because it hurts the mother who gave you birth, the people who love you, and it winds up being a selfish, arrogant act. And then, of course, when everybody else doesn't understand, you play the victim card. You know, I'm unhappy, and you're not giving me enough money to live off in the apartment. I just want to get high. And I have no patience for that. And you're right. I would support you in the sweeping generalization. Predominantly, the rap world, the rock world, the entertainment world is filled with drug addicts and alcoholics. I stand by every word I just said. I see them every day. And it is a culture of ruin. It just doesn't work.
You haven't been into drink, haven't been into drugs. Fair to say that you've had a weakness for women?
Oh yeah, I'm the male of the species, and you know, I went from famine to feast. When I was very young, 12, 13, 14, I didn't do so well with girls. And, you know, I desperately wanted their companionship. I didn't know if I wanted a girlfriend or if it was just sex or anything. I just was attracted. And then I joined a band. And it was like Tinkerbell just put the dust all over me, and all of a sudden, I mean, that happened a long time ago. You could wake up next to somebody whose name you never bothered to learn.
Would you agree that's narcissistic? And in its way is, if not a disease, a malady that could be equated with drink, drugs, some of the others.
It's an interesting either prognosis or thought, and maybe I'm not the one to determine that. But I will tell you that while the people around me were getting high in drugs, I was guilty as charged of going after the pleasures of the flesh. Absolutely.
Well, bluntly put, and some would be uncomfortable with this language.
Oh, I'm not comfortable with any
Instead
language.
of getting high or getting drunk, you were getting laid.
Quite a bit of it.
Is that the reason you said later in life that, quote, fame creates monsters? Were you one?
Perhaps. I don't think it was meant to grab power and to be unkind to people. It was self-satiation. I just couldn't believe that it was from famine to feast, and I could have anything I wanted. This sort of, I mean, I love cake, and I can imagine this wonder world where I'm thrown into a bakery. You can eat anything you want, and you'll never gain a pound. I'm going, oh my God, I'm going to gorge myself. And that's what I did for decades, thousands, Dan. And I neither say that in humor or with arrogance or bravado, just I'd never had it. And maybe it's fair to say somebody else should figure out whether it's a sex addiction or not, but I certainly went into it head, hands, and feet.